Welcome to Culture Shock. I'm your host, Gio DiZurita, and in this podcast, we embark on a journey to uncover the heartbeat of this vibrant city, where arts and culture intersect. Today, we are honored to have Krystal Jones here in the studio. She is not only an amazing woman that she'll tell us all about it, but she's also the executive director of this beautiful city's art and culture department. How you doing, love?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me here on the podcast.
Oh, it's our honor to have you here. Please tell us a little bit more of what the whole team does for the city art and culture, please.
Yeah, so I'm blessed to have 23 people on our team, and we work to elevate artists in our city and also art nonprofits. Mm-hmm. And we do it through a number of different ways. Mm-hmm. We have 2 gallery spaces where we showcase local artists and also even some, nationwide or even international artists. And it's through 2 spaces, one behind our city hall and then one at Historic Market Square.
I gotta go see it.
And they are open for free and to the public. So anyone who visits our city, they're welcome to come into those spaces and learn more about San Antonio artists.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And how can we find these spaces? Do we put it on Google Maps, or how do we find it out?
You can go to sanantonio.gov/arts, and all of the programs and spaces that we have are located on that website. Okay. But if you just Google Historic Market Square or Centro de Artes Gallery, you could find it that way. Perfect. Our other gallery is called Culture Commons Gallery, and it's right next to the Spanish Governor's Palace.
How convenient.
Yes, so we're strategically placing our galleries in places where people are already kind of visiting, and then they don't expect to see art there, and they find it. So
I love that.
Yeah.
Now, with I know there's probably a lot of artists that are starting, but they are very good, and they are listening to you right now. What would you recommend they do so that they are considered for public art?
Yeah, so we have our public art program. We also have grants to individual artists. We give $5,000 to individual artists. Okay. And then there's some art nonprofit funding we have. And we also have our Film and Music Commission that helps musicians and filmmakers. So the very first thing I would tell artists of any genre to do is go to sanantonio.gov/arts. And then you can create a profile on our artist registry for completely free.
Okay.
And this is kind of like a LinkedIn for artists because we're marketing that registry all across to businesses, residents, visitors, and artists are getting commissions from that registry.
That is super useful. Yeah. Thank you so much. Yeah. Now, I want to know, more of a personal opinion of yours. When it comes to what Krystal Jones sees on art that you like, specifically like San Antonio artists, what fires your heart?
What I think makes San Antonio artists so special is that they're completely influenced by the city they live in and by the rich history here, the culture, and even things that are happening today in our future. So when you come and you view art in San Antonio, you are getting that San Antonio flavor. It's San Antonio on the canvas, but it's seen through, an artist's eyes. Even if it's talking about some of the most difficult things in our community, it's still artists being at the forefront of those topics. Yes. And so I know that every city has artists and they have, they're influenced, maybe New Orleans artists and musicians are, influenced by New Orleans itself. But San Antonio especially, you love this city. I mean, I've lived here for 13 years. As soon as I moved here, I fell in love with it. And you see that on the canvas, you hear it through music, through performances, and that's what I think makes it really special because you're seeing the city on the canvas.
Yes, definitely. Are you an artist yourself?
Okay, well, I try to keep it on the down low, but I'll just say I practice art. I don't do it professionally. I did paint my dog at one of the, kind of like you paint and drink or whatever it is. But so it turned out really nicely and it sits above her little eating area. But I did have some help by a local artist who's so amazing, who's done some great work. So,
that's awesome.
But yeah, I think everybody is an artist in their own right. I mean, I even say there's an art to, government administration. It's the art of problem solving.
Yes.
And so, everybody just has to have that. If you're human, you're going to have emotions and, through the expression of those emotions, it is art. So.
Yes. Have you ever been to an art class in general? Like for yourself?
Yes, I have. And actually, I just signed up for one. Our art nonprofits that we work with, we fund 35 art nonprofits here in San Antonio. All the way from, Guadalupe Cultural Arts Center, San Antonio Museum of Art, Central Cultural Arts Lawn, Conjunto Heritage Taller. I recently, actually, just today, signed up for a Gemini Inc. writing class. It's an 8-week course that happens on Thursday evenings. It starts next week. So, but there's all of these nonprofits that have art classes all over the city.
Yes.
And so even if it's just a one-time stop, if a visitor's in town, I would just ask people to go to sanantonio.gov/arts, and you can find those classes that would just make your experience really unique.
And I don't think that a lot of us know about this. And I'm one of those people that tend to be working on the events but not living them. And I took this year, finally, to say, okay, I need to see San Antonio from a different scope, like not from my working, all the events, but from I'm living the events. What's your favorite so far? Is it Fiesta, or what would you say? Oh, this event that happens whenever, once a year, or every so often. What would you say or recommend to people?
Oh my gosh, that's like asking to pick. Like,
yeah, I know.
Well, I don't have children, but my favorite dog. That's asking what my favorite pet is. That is a really hard one because I do love all of them. I will say I started with the Department of Arts and Culture running the Film Commission.
Okay.
And so I got really familiar with Cine Festival, which is the longest Latino running film festival in the country. Wow. It's at Guadalupe Cultural Arts Center. And I will say, just because I was really embedded with film, it is one of my favorite festivals.
And when does this happen?
It's in July of every year.
July.
And it's at the Guadalupe Theater. And it's really, you're seeing films that are coming right off of South by Southwest, even, Sundance, going straight there. Okay. And it's really important content for anyone.
Yes.
So I think that's a festival that I love.
So that's coming up.
It is coming up.
Okay.
If you're looking at, fall festivals, September, October timeframe is a really important year. It's Hispanic time of year. It's Hispanic Heritage Month. You're going into November, October, November with Day of the Dead celebrations.
Oh my God, I love Muertos Fest and like being in La Villita or Hemisphere Park and people dressing up and the colors. It's like a combination between Fiesta and Halloween to me.
And it's happening all throughout the city. So there's organizations like Central Cultural Arts Lawn and Esperanza Peace and Justice Center who have been celebrating Day of the Dead for over 40 years. And it's really to get that snippet of something that's so grassroots that happened here in San Antonio that's been happening for 40 years, to see it in all parts of the city. It's just a beautiful celebration. And it means a lot to me because not being, from the culture or from San Antonio, I grew up planting marigolds with my grandmother, and the smell of marigolds is just conjures up her memories. So I feel like a really special connection with that festival because, of course, it's a time for me to remember my grandmother.
Yes.
But I can't help but not remember her because the fragrance of marigolds is just so strong.
Like whatever culture you're from, San Antonio embraces it, I feel.
Well, and I also think it's so strong because, San Antonio was once Mexico.
Exactly.
And so I think that through travel, and we have such a huge travel and tourism industry here, I think that through travel, people's eyes are opened. You can learn a lot more about others, but also yourself. And so I think it's really interesting when someone does come to, let's say, Market Square and they see, some of those Day of the Dead traditions for the first time, and they're a little bit confused, but then they leave with a better understanding to say, oh, this is really beautiful. And maybe I will think about this around this time of year when it comes to remembering my family.
Exactly.
So it's just a beautiful, beautiful time of year where people learn about each other.
Yes, I agree. Keep going, right?
Yes. And behind all of these grant proposals are people who are evaluating these proposals. It's a panel. And they work in the arts field. That's why they're on the panel. So you never know who's going to see your work through a grant proposal, and maybe the overall score didn't get you the grant. But your name and your work is is maybe 5 panel members' mind, and they may run into you. You never know. This world is so small, and just these moments happen, and paths are crossing, or maybe ships are passing in the night. But then all of a sudden, it just boom, it works out, and the timing's right. And I see that happen all the time. So you got to put yourself out there, network with people, because even the no's teach you something. Well, maybe I'll pitch it this way, or I'll cater the grant write it differently and in that way, or maybe I need to partner with someone.
Yeah. What would you say to artists that are introverts?
Oh, I would say there are some tricks and tips for events and going to networking events, because even extroverts at a certain point, networking events and going to places, it's just, we're humans. We're all awkward. There's going to be awkward moments, So I mean, I'm an extrovert, but it's really hard to just go and be like, oh hey, this is who I am. So a couple of things is, even just going, and even if you don't talk to anybody, snap a couple pictures of what you're seeing, snap a couple pictures of the room, put it on your social media, because maybe someone will hear your name, or they'll just be browsing and they'll see, oh, this person's out and about. They must be part of the scene.
Yes.
And then once you start to feel a little bit comfortable, maybe you want to talk to some people. Food is always the great connector. Go to the buffet, get a tray. The person next to you, oh look, doesn't this hummus look great? And then always there's those tables, and so hey, can I set my tray here? I just need a place to stand. Oh, by the way, this is who I am. How are you doing?
And people go to these events to talk to other people either way. So even if they're introverts and they're just standing there by themselves being awkward, if you just come and be awkward with them, then be like, hey, what you doing? When it comes to San Antonio murals or sculptures, what would you say is your favorite one?
Oh, you are really...
Or give me two favorite ones.
Okay, well, I ride a motorcycle.
Okay.
And...
You just keep getting cooler. Okay.
And so one of my favorite routes, especially when I'm de-stressing, is I will go down... I'll start in I-10, and then I'll go down 35 south, and I'll get off at the Theo and Malone exit.
Okay.
And underneath the highway there, and kind of near the Taco Cabana, is a piece called Ballroom Luminoso.
Okay.
And it is very large chandeliers that are made to replicate bicycle parts. It's actually a popular bicycle meetup spot.
Okay.
And it's lit up like, it's so beautiful.
Haven't seen that.
And blues.
Okay.
And to be on a motorcycle, kind of zooming under there. At the speed limit, of course, is really beautiful. I love that piece.
Oh my God! Okay? After this, you gotta give me that information again, because I gotta go there and see that. And you would recommend to go at night?
Oh yes, because it's all lit up.
Lit up. Okay, perfect.
Yeah, it's so beautiful. Lighting is something we're talking about in the future of public art too, because we want people to know that public art can also be safety elements or bring beautification to spaces. That particular piece, it's not something that I think people would expect to see there, and that's what makes it so beautiful.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
When it's unexpected.
Yes.
And even when sometimes you recycle art or things that normally wouldn't be perceive as art, and then you make it into that, and you guys have been doing an amazing job with that. Thank you so much for being with us today. It's been a great conversation, and now I have to invite you to my studio and have more conversation, long conversation to somebody like myself that hasn't been around San Antonio, experiencing the city just for living purposes. Is there more hidden gems in the city that you would recommend us to visit?
I think there's a really interesting sculpture piece by a local artist. His name is Riley Robinson. He actually is the executive director of Art Pace. And it's at Culebra Park. It's a soccer ball that's coming out of the ground. And what I love about it is it's interactive. We're really into interactive pieces. Yes. And so there's so many kids that go up there and they're standing on this soccer ball it's a huge soccer ball, but it's coming out of the ground. That's all I can say. Yes. It's really cool. I just love it.
No, that's awesome, because I haven't seen a picture of somebody in there, or I haven't seen that. Yeah. So it's so interesting when we live here for years and we don't know about these things. In the website, can we also kind of like Google that, or how would we find that?
You go to sanantonio.gov/arts, and there is a map of all of our public art. And so you can even pinpoint where you are in the city and find out what public art pieces are near you. Okay. And so just type in soccer ball into the search term, you'll find it. Culebra Park, it's very cool. Awesome. We actually recently had some marketing photography shoots out there, and it was just a really cool piece that the kids love to play on.
Oh, that's awesome. And I like what you said about interactive pieces where people can stand or kids can play with it, and it's part of the experience, not only visuals but touching, because
Yes,
that's
it's
what
so
humans want to
important.
do,
Yes.
to connect.
It's so important. I mean, so many of our visitors, they go to Hemisphere, and there's a Yanaguana Garden,
Yes.
and I mean, the slide is a piece of art. There is the Oscar Alvarado piece that people can climb on, and it's just benches there. You have a piece by Rubio in that space, and I should say the slide bridge projects. They worked on that, so all local artists are in that Wanaguana Park.
I love that park.
Yes.
I mean, honestly, I now I'm gonna ask you this: is this just for kids to climb and slide, or can
I've been up there.
do that? Oh,
I've been
really?
up there. Oh, yes, I have. Well, it's really high, honestly. So my niece and nephew were in town visiting from Ohio, and my niece got up there, and I had to go save her.
Yeah.
But it was fun, so I went down the slide as well. And
Oh, you need my help?
Yeah, yes.
Oh, you're calling me, and she's like, "No, you're fine."
Yeah.
Oh, well, I'm coming.
Yes, I'm usually the one that's like, push me on the swing, So that's a really great space where people can interact with the art, and maybe not even. I mean, I just think it's really fascinating to see kids, especially kids that may not have access to art in schools, that they see it out in public. That's our whole purpose, is to have accessibility to art. And when they see it, they're inspired. And again, art does inspire all of us to be better.
Yes.
And it's also a healing process. I mean, you thought through the pandemic, I mean, you saw film really come to play. A lot of our nonprofits took their programming online. Musicians were doing live streams. It's the only way that we could feel connected when we were disconnected. So it makes us who we are. And I just love to see a kid's face when they go, "Oh, look at this."
Yes.
It just makes everything that we do worthwhile.
Definitely. Thank you so much for sharing that. And now, before we wrap it up, I want to ask if there was a message that could change the world just by you sharing it, what would that be?
Okay, now I'm going to save the world. I just would say be kind to one another and yourself. I mean, I think kindness is what's going to make everything better in the end.
It sounds simple,
Yes,
but it is.
It is not. It is not easy. I always talk about the human experience, and it's rough. And sometimes you can get stuck in your own world, and you just I got to get to point A to point B, and I don't have time. But there is always time to be kind.
Yes.
And just like, networking, you never know what's going to come out of one nugget of kindness. I've had so many experiences where I've just stopped to say, "Hi, how's your day?" to someone, and then I find the most wild connection. It just happened to me in Michigan. I was at a bookstore. It was an independent bookstore, and I just happened to start talking to the owner, and then I looked down, and there was a book by a San Antonio poet. And I mentioned, "Oh my gosh, I know this poet's work." And she goes, "Well, wait a second." And she opened up the book, and on page 34 was a poem about the exact bookstore I was in. Just those experiences that if I would have just said, "Here's my transaction, see you later," I would have never had that just little story to tell. So I just think be kind to yourself and others is the message.
That's beautiful. Random question. Let's just say somebody from Seattle that you know. You're talking about San Antonio. How would you entice them to come and visit? What would you say? You gotta know San Antonio because.
Well, I would say that if you're talking about, cities like Seattle or New York, I mean, again, there's a large concentration of people in a small space. It's like, feels like a big city. San Antonio is the 7th largest city in the country, but it's, kind of spread out. What I think is what I tell people to come to San Antonio is it's about accessibility. And what I mean by that, especially with arts and culture, is that you go to a coffee shop and like Bright Coffee in the Beacon Hill area. That's a really great space that has swing dancing, by the way. But anyway, they also have art.
Oh, I know.
Yes, but you're sitting there and you're having your cup of coffee and you're looking at a piece of art on the wall. And instead of a place where maybe like New York or Seattle where, who knows where that artist is, the artist is probably sitting right next to you having that cup of coffee, and you can have a complete conversation with them. I think that our artist community is incredibly robust. I mean, there's so many artists that live in this city, and it's a collaborative spirit. So it's not like everybody's fighting against each other. We're all trying to build each other up. And because of that, you can feel it, but also it's accessible where you're sitting next to a musician that's traveled around the world, but they choose to live here in San Antonio.
Yes.
And it's all about, really big on human connections,
Yes.
and again, about exploring cities through the lens of a local. And what better way to meet an artist that's sitting right next to you and then find out where their favorite place to eat.
Yes.
I was just talking to one of our artists, Joe DiZurita. He has pieces at one of my favorite places is Ray's Drive-In on the west side. And so, again, you're going and you're having your puffy taco. You're seeing Joe's work on the wall that's really talking about West Side culture, West Side life. And, I mean, you're just, while you're eating this, you're also experiencing exactly what you're seeing on the wall.
Yes.
It's-
And then also for music, I don't know enough about music, and I would love to know more. San Antonio is also has like that part of the city is something that could entice people to come, right?
Oh,
Like-
yes. We have so many. I mean, our music scene, I think people are starting to realize this.
Yes.
It was underground for a while. We have so many musicians. And again, the collaborations that happen, especially what I love about musicians is this kind of like intergenerational collaborations where you have, an artist who's in their 60s, 70s collaborating with an artist who's, in their 20s just starting out on the same
Yes.
stage. So I really do point people to go to the St. Mary's area, the North St. Mary's Strip. That's where you're going to find a lot of great music. Paper Tiger's great. Hondros is great. You even have music at High Tones, The Mix. I mean, it's just a really great place for music. There's a scene going on the west side at Jaime's place. He's doing some amazing performances there. He is such a supporter of the arts, visual arts as well.
Okay.
And so it's this kind of like ice house feel, but it's also community driven. And Jaime's done amazing work at this one of my favorite
I'm
places
learning
to go.
so much. I'm like,
it's a
where's
great
my pen
space.
to take notes?
Yeah, it's a great space to go to, and again to get that real San Antonio flavor and feel. Of course, the East Side is great. Dakota Ice House, they are very supportive of local musicians. I just saw a couple performances the other day that just made my absolute day. And I went to the Carver Community Arts Center first, and then popped over to the Dakota Ice House. Again, all these spaces it's all about community here.
Yes.
So it's not just that, it's a nice bar or restaurant to go to. It's almost, our bars and restaurants are acting like community centers. It's where the community comes and meets and collaborations
like a family
happen.
welcoming you to their home almost.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, and you will. I mean, I will say I used to work for the Tourism Bureau, and I would bring in journalists from around the world. And I'll never forget, there was a journalist who came here. She was supposed to be here for an arts festival. I couldn't find her. I was calling her, where is she? Where is she? And then she finally called me super late. She goes, I met these artists. They took me down to Saladias. We had a bonfire. I mean, I met all these people. This is the best trip I've ever had. And that's where you can really live like a local here in San Antonio.
Yes, thank you so much. This was Krystal Jones. Thank you for being here, for showing us, even though you want to stay humble, you shine, and I admire what you do. I admire what the team is doing. Thank you so much for being here with us, and I look forward to seeing you more around.
Yes.
And learn more about everything San Antonio public art.
Okay, wonderful. I'd be happy to share. Thank you for everything today.
As we conclude this episode of Culture Shock, let us continue to support and celebrate the arts in our community. Connect with us in social media, visit our website, and subscribe.